Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. If you're new here, if you could smash the subscribe button, and also if you could hit the like, it really does go a long way. Anyway, bringing you another heavyweight prospect video. Today we are talking about Evgeny Romanov, who hails from Russia. Evgeny Romanov is a 34-year-old heavyweight. He is orthodox and he is listed as 6 foot. So he's a smaller heavyweight. As you can expect with these Eastern European fighters, Evgeny Romanov, he was a more than capable amateur. He did well in the sort of junior amateur tournaments, and he was one of Russia's best heavyweights in the amateurs. You know, just for reference, in the amateurs, he beat the likes of Deontay Wilder, for example, who obviously went on to win a bronze medal in the Olympics and went on to become a world champion at heavyweight. He also beat guys like Robert Alfonso, and he also beat Rakhim Shakayev, who went on to win a gold medal in the Beijing Olympics in 2008. So Evgeny Romanov does have good amateur pedigree. As a pro, he's compiled a record of 14-0 with 10 knockouts, and so far his level of competition has been pretty low. I would say the best names on his resume are Denis Bakhtov, who's now a journeyman, and also Ariel Bracamonte, again another journeyman. So he's not really stepped it up yet, and he will need to soon given his age of 34 years old. He's actually 35 in July, so he needs to get a move on and he needs to step up in levels of competition. Now bear in mind, these heavyweight prospect videos, I don't just cover guys who I think are going to go all of the way. I'm trying to cover prospects from across the board. Even if I don't think they are going to make it in the pros, I will still cover them. And I've got to say, Evgeny Romanov is a guy who I don't really envisage getting to world level as a professional for a number of reasons. First and foremost, his style. His style is a young man's style. Problem for Evgeny Romanov is he's 34 years old. As a shorter heavyweight of 6 foot, you need to close the distance quickly on these bigger guys so you can get past their reach and work up close. And that sort of style usually takes a lot of athleticism and explosiveness. Evgeny Romanov, he's certainly heavy-handed. In the amateurs he scored quite a few knockouts. He actually knocked out Deontay Wilder, like I mentioned earlier. So the guy can punch, he's got strength, but I don't really believe he's got the athleticism to go with it. And potentially he's already had his best years in the amateurs, and you do see that with some amateurs. Some amateurs, they turn pro late, but they've already had their best years in the amateurs, and I think Evgeny Romanov could be one of those guys. As a pro, despite not really fighting a high level of competition, Evgeny Romanov is already getting tagged up a little too much for my liking. You can go back, for example, to the Ariel Bracamonte fight. That was a hard 12-rounder. He lost a lot of rounds in that fight, and he was getting caught with big shot after big shot. He really made hard work of that fight. And Bracamonte is a journeyman. He's a tough guy, but a journeyman nonetheless. Ultimately, if you're an elite level prospect, you should be dealing with people like Ariel Bracamonte, and Evgeny Romanov really struggled. And I think that fight really highlighted his defensive, fragilities, and how he will struggle to close the distance against bigger guys in the division. I just don't think Romanov has that foot speed, athleticism to get up close and be explosive. If you're stupid enough to invite him on your chest, then he could be a problem because the guy does have heavy hands, but I just see him struggling to close the distance against these bigger guys, and on top of that, defensively, he really does leave a lot to be desired, to be honest with you. He does have some good attributes. When he is on the inside, he's great at shortening up his punches. He can throw some really nice combinations to body and head. He's got a mean left hook, a good short chopping right hand. Every single shot is thrown with power. I like his combinations. I like his punch technique. Offensively, when he's in position, he's actually got hands. He's pretty good. And he's not slow in terms of hand speed, but it's just getting in those positions that I think could be his problem in the pro ranks. And ultimately, the guy's running out of time. He really is. He's 34 years old, 35 in July. He needs to get a move on. I really don't believe there's any point in trying to build this guy like a regular prospect, I really believe you need to throw this guy in there at the deep end and basically see what happens, because if you mess around for too long with a guy like Evgeny Romanov, he could get upset by a guy who's not a contender. Again, he nearly lost to Ariel Bracamonte. He had a lot of problems in that fight, and he was looking shaky on several occasions. So before that happens, before he loses to a guy who nobody's heard of, they may as well chuck him in there with somebody who's got some type of pedigree and some type of reputation in the pro ranks. I'm talking about somebody like Dominic Breazeale. You know, a guy who's been in and around world level, who's fought for a title, and, you know, is a decent enough fighter. I think that's the type of guy Evgeny Romanov needs to be thrown in there with. Because if he can beat somebody like Dominic Breazeale, then maybe that opens the door for a biggish fight. But, you know, matching this guy too slowly and taking your time, I think that could come unstuck, to be honest, and I think that could end in tears. So I believe they need to throw this guy in there with a contender of some description, maybe an Otto Wallin. I think that's another name who would make sense for Evgeny Romanov. You know, basically throw him in there with someone decent and see what happens, and then go from there. I think that should be the plan of action for Evgeny Romanov. Some people may say I'm being harsh on Romanov in this video, but I just try and give my honest opinion on these prospects. One thing I will say about Romanov, no matter how far he gets, he will certainly be in entertaining fights, you know, given the fact that he is aggressive, he does have power, and he's certainly vulnerable. You know, combining all of those factors, that makes for an entertaining fighter. But in terms of Romanov going on to be a heavyweight champion, or even contesting for a belt, I really do believe that's unlikely, to be honest with you. Anyway, share your thoughts below. What do you make of Evgeny Romanov? Do you rate him higher than I do? Or like me, are you kind of not convinced? Share your thoughts below. Peace.